flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we'll have a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. We will start off with item 3A, approved contract for removal of waste tires, solid waste. Roadmaster Paul Slade.
Good morning, Paul.
2A. Yeah, but you missed it.
So we sent out a request for bids in regards to a waste disposal removal from Beaver Hill. Tire Disposal Company was the only company that responded with a bid. That we leave the trailer on site at all times for tires to be put in for removal. This is a company we've been working with for several years now. Asked the board to approve and sign the contract with Tire Disposal Company, DBA Mall Discount Tire for the removal of waste tires from Beaver Hill.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I move to approve and sign contract with Tire Disposal Company, DBA Molalla Discount Tire for removal of waste tires from Beaver Hill.
Do you have a second?
Second?
Discussion?
Yes, how's this compared to last year's, or our current rate?
Our
I assume there's an
rate
increase.
was $135 a ton, $135 a ton, and this is gonna go up to $175 a ton. So we will be coming back to the board in June to request a fee increase
Increase.
on tires.
Yeah.
We're also gonna request the board approve that we not take tires with wheels included anymore, and just only set them separate,
Sure.
because that's part of the problem with getting it
You're gonna ask for that when?
in June.
Okay.
Well, we'll actually be coming back in 2 weeks to the board for the request approval to not accept tires with wheels.
All right.
Then we'll come back in June for the fee increase.
I was curious on this, why it was laid out the way it was with the first two loads at 135 per ton and then going to 175, and I got an explanation that last year we had a failure to pick up. And so the price went up and we had no lever to bring it back.
And we tried a couple different options. We looked at several other companies that were a lot more money to get rid of the tires.
Yeah.
So this was a way to get them to take the last two loads that are still sitting there from last year's contract at the old price.
Okay,
And then we'll have a new price moving forward.
cool.
Any other questions from the board?
No?
Any other questions from the audience? No? All in favor?
Aye.
We can't hear you, man. Can't hear you, and you guys are echoing pretty solid.
All
How
right,
about now?
can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Echo.
I don't think we're gonna be able to get rid of the echo. The sound guy's not here today. I'll try to get the volume up.
Yeah, this might just maybe.
The sound guy's off getting married.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting married, isn't that happy?
Oh, honey.
We all have our microphones off?
Yeah.
Is yours silenced?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Any better for me? No? Pam? Any better for me? Speak up.
Is there any chance someday?
How about right in the middle here? What did you
No
say?
mics might solve the problem, maybe.
If you guys had lapels,
Yeah, it's a possibility.
Okay, we did that one, all right. 2B, request approval, IGA with State Marine Board and authorized sheriff to sign, Sheriff Gabe. Yeah, it is echoing, isn't it?
Yeah, it sounds like there's a computer microphone on somewhere.
Is that John, is yours on?
Shows my mic's
Is
on.
there a line to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I getting an echo too?
not as bad for some reason.
But I am, and mine says it's blocked.
Mine is off.
If I turn
I turned off my microphone and talk without it.
what happens?
Can kind of hear you, but I don't know if they can.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
All right.
Okay. 2B, approval.
Good morning,
Good
Commissioners.
morning.
Morning, Sheriff.
So 2B is in regards to the Marine contract. The OSND, Oregon State Marine Board, provides us annual monies to run our Marine enforcement program. So this agreement is effective 7/1/23 through 6/30/25. And the amounts of year 1, 207,846, year 2, 207,846. So requesting board approval and approval for me to sign.
Okay, a motion?
I move, board approve the, commitment from the state and approve the sheriff, signing the contract.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none from the board, people in the audience? Hearing none from them, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, I do have a question. About what percentage, do you have an idea off the top of your head about what percentage of our total costs this covers?
About 85.
85, that's good.
All right.
Thank you.
2C, request a contract for First Watch Wellness, authorized sheriff to sign.
So this is a First Watch Wellness Program. This is a mental wellness program, trying to promote mental wellness and hopefully help with retention inside the sheriff's office. This is a one-year program, the amount of $13,400. So asking the board to approve and accept the contract between First Watch Wellness and the Coos County Sheriff's Office and allow myself to sign.
Okay,
I move we approve and accept the contract between First Watch Wellness and the Coos County Sheriff's Office and allow the sheriff signing authority for the contract.
Second.
discussion?
Yes,
Yeah,
I have a question. Do I need to be up there?
please. You have to name and general location where you live.
Especially if you're not any longer wearing a neck brace.
No longer wearing the phone shame, how exciting. Pam Lewis from Brookdale. My question is for you. This is not affiliated with the program that's the high school, or the kids getting to do an after-school program downtown. What's the name of it?
Coos Drop?
Who's Drop, that's what I was saying. I have the names confused, so that's not anything, okay.
No, ma'am, this is culturally relevant. So basically, it's from former police officers that understand they have a
Sure. Mental health specialist.
mental health specialist.
Yeah.
It's a
People
telehealth.
who know stuff how to do that, but I don't.
It's a telehealth platform.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All righty, anybody else? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All righty. 2D, approval to pay final invoice from EBA Spectra. Sheriff to sign.
So this is part of the phase 2 stuff we've been working on for a while, Elk Mountain in the eastern portion of the county for the radio program. We've actually had approved and sent off the, it's a combiner here reworked in order to work. However, it came back with shipping more than we had anticipated, excuse me. So asking the board to approve the final expenditure of the Elk Mountain combiner rework for a total amount of $16,105, which did include the work itself and shipping, and authorize myself to sign.
Okay, motion.
I move to approve the final expenditure of Elk Mountain Combiner rework for the total amount of $16,105 and authorize the sheriff to sign.
Is there a second?
Aye. A second, excuse me. Ready to go on this one.
Sheriff, I'm curious, why is it so expensive to ship this?
I didn't expect it to be that much. I don't know, I guess.
Is it, what's the physical size of this thing?
Oh, it's huge. It's about 400 pounds. It's 8 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet. So
Oh, I see, okay, so it's LTL shipping,
Yes.
all right, that's why. All right,
Any other discussion with the board? Discussion with the audience? Seeing none, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
All right. 2E, request approval of grant agreement with Mayor First Step for peer mentoring and crisis housing council community corrections. You're it.
Okay, so I can take the lead here on the agenda item. Coos County has entered into a settlement agreement in the National Opioid Mass Tort lawsuit against drug manufacturers and distributors. Under that settlement, the county's use of settlement funds is limited to opioid remediation uses that are specifically set forth in that agreement. So this proposed grant agreement would provide $118,000 to Bay Area First Step to fund additional housing and peer mentoring services to individuals with opioid use disorder in accordance with the terms of the opioid settlement agreement. The grant would run for 1 year, and the parties would be required to meet no less than 60 days before the termination to discuss whether we should fund this for additional terms thereafter. And Bay Area First Step is required to document all expenditures and submit a final report to the county demonstrating compliance with the restrictions of the opioid settlement agreement.
Okay, motion?
Move to approve and sign the grant agreement with Bay Area First Step for peer mentoring crisis housing.
No second?
And I second that.
Okay, discussion. Would you like to add anything?
I just want to say that, since we last met with the work session, we've ramped up a lot. I did get to talk about evaluation report that was in progress. We got that completed. Copies for you guys if it's appropriate.
Sure.
If it's not appropriate, that's fine too.
That's great. Yeah.
And we'll come back with you. I would expect this data to, it's already great, but I expect it to, the amount of services we can provide will be dramatically increased.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
appreciate it.
All right, any other discussion with the board? Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody from the audience? Yes, ma'am. Here first. Here first.
I have a question about the opioid settlement funding.
Yeah,
I'm
that'll be for council.
Sorry, I'm Charlotte Carver from Mandan. I have a question about the opioid settlement funding in general. So is this, is the entirety of the opioid settlement funding, that's going to the county being allocated in this contract? There's two contracts to be reimbursed, correct?
The opioid mass torts is a complicated one because there's been settlements that are coming in on a periodic basis. So the money that the 118,000 is, and the 170,000, which is the next grant, is most of what we've received to date. However, we will be having additional settlements with additional funding coming in, so that revenue source is going to increase. So there will be opportunities for funding additional programs.
And then is that going to be visited every year, that you get new allocations of funding, or how are decisions made? What's the timeline?
So that's kind of up to the board. We built into this particular agreement, the one for $118,000, sitting down with the board, as I said, 60 days before the termination to determine whether we want to keep that baseline funding in place. And the board will have to decide what direction it wants to go with the additional funding that we're going to be getting in. We don't know the exact amounts we're going to be getting on that yet, so it's kind of hard to say where that's going to go. The next agreement we'll be looking at here is for $170,000, and that will be sort of a one-time agreement, because what happened was we had a lot of payments all at once, because we had a payment for the first fiscal year late in that fiscal year, and then we had a payment for the second fiscal year early in the next. So
I'm a member of the Coos County Alcohol and Drug Planning Committee. We're a mandated committee that is required to identify needs and establish priorities related to alcohol and drug prevention, treatment, and recovery services. We're a cross-sector group with members from multiple different treatment programs, like the Area First Step is represented on our LEPC. We have law enforcement, we have folks from advanced health, who's health and wellness, DHS. We have a pretty good group of individuals that have lots of experience on this topic. And last year we did a needs assessment and established some strategic priorities for Coos County specifically on how we think we can best address these issues. So I just wanted to share that with you all. We have an open invitation to attend our meetings. We have monthly meetings on the fourth Thursday of the month. And we can also, if you give us notice, we can put together a presentation to review like all of our findings and data and information that we have. I don't have any concerns about the grant agreement or contract that you have with Bay Area First Step. They're a really great program, and I think that's a good use of funds.
So would you mind taking the initiative and give us a report? The work you do is really, really important.
Yeah.
And yes, I'd love to come to meetings, but I could probably find so many meetings to go to that I wouldn't get any work done.
Yeah.
So I can't rely upon my ability to get to a meeting to keep current. So I'd appreciate your making it a point to tell us when you think there's something that we need to know. And do it, you know, not just once every 5 years, a couple times a year, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. We just talked about this in our last meeting, because we put together a presentation. We did the presentation last October and invited the commissioners. Commissioner Crivens was the only person that was able to attend, and so we know that we need to, share this information with each of you. We have a presentation that's ready. Things change rapidly. Funding sources from the state are changing. So it is kind of, it needs to be updated regularly. And in our last meeting, we decided that it's important for us to put together a report that's more shareable and
I appreciate that very much, because what you do is terribly important.
presentations and meetings are really beneficial, because then it's also a space where you can ask questions and we can have more of a discussion as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on what Commissioner Sweet said. I also was gonna ask for something like that, particularly ahead of more of these opioid funds coming in, that we have, you know, preliminary idea of what you guys have come up with, because you're operating in that space more, and that would be very valuable information. So, yeah, whatever, I don't know what the best format is to get that to us, but I mean, I'd be, if you had something put together like a PowerPoint or something, and, you know, could show it to us, I'd be very interested.
Yeah, absolutely. And that opioid settlement funds is a unique funding source that's going to be available to our community for the next 18 years. So it's a chance where we can really think about what are the long-term strategies that we can use these funds to really,
Yep, that's
together
excellent.
addressing it.
Excellent, thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you.
Goodness.
Okay, Diane?
I'm Diane Rich, I'm from Coos Bay, and I am so glad to see this man here and to give him funding. He does excellent, excellent work, and I'm so glad to see that he's up here instead of Jared Johnson. This man needs money. He does a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Vanessa? Anybody else want to speak besides Vanessa? Don't see any hands.
Good morning.
good morning.
Morning, I'm Vanessa Raines, I'm from Myrtle Point. I got some news, and this is pertinent to the, you know, what's going on with opiates. I assume opiates is the same as the elephant tranquilizer of carfentanil. I ran into a person pumping a septic tank, and he works for the ambulance here in Coquille. He says he's had about 6 deaths related to fentanyl between Myrtle Point, Coquille, and Powers. And these are young people. This is very, very timely right now that we figure out what to do in this community to ward this off, because we're losing more young people from this stuff than the Vietnam War. Okay, this is important, and we just lost a kid up in Powers who's 24 years old. And so it is timely to do a task force and get the community involved and the police. And if this money is it going to I mean, they stunned this guy with 3 cans of Narcan and shipped him to Medford on a life flight. And what's being done about it? It is an epidemic here, and it is coming in as rampant. Are we putting dogs on this stuff, trying to figure out where the source is coming in? These young people are, and it's in everything from what I've heard. They're putting it in the marijuana, they're cutting that carfentanil and a lot of different things right now.
You must not have seen it last night, the sheriff had an announcement, they confiscated over 1,000 fentanyl pills yesterday.
Well, that's great. That's super. We need to do more for our young people, because, I mean, that's our future. I mean, we've already put them through the high school and everything else, and if we can't get them drug treatment or figure out how to get out of this, our society here will collapse.
That's right.
Dennis, I have something I'd like to share with you. We need some help. South Coast Interagency Narcotics Team used to be a very vibrant organization, funded by, and Sheriff, correct me if I missed something here, funded by multiple governmental agencies throughout Coos and Curry County. Today, let me finish. Today, to my knowledge, The only entity that is supporting that agency, and it's really an important agency for the reasons you just pointed out, is Coos County.
Yep.
We don't have one, maybe Coos Bay? No, we don't have one city. Not one city in these two counties that's helping fund sin.
Or the other county.
Why isn't this, some of this fentanyl money, meetings are great, but what's boots on the ground dealing with this? How are we dealing
Well,
with this?
sin does that work.
Like
Without them, our.
So why isn't a portion of this fentanyl money going to, that is coming to fight that?
Well,
Well,
it's,
this is drug manufacturers' lawsuit. This
Okay,
isn't illicit drugs like you're talking about.
yeah, this,
it's still opiates.
I know, but it's
It's still opiates.
two separate items. One is the illicit drug trade you're talking about. This is drug manufacturers got in lawsuit law. Okay, that's what this money is coming from.
has to do with oxycodone and
Yeah, that's
OxyContin.
And treatment.
a doctor prescribed.
Yeah.
Why don't they sue those people instead?
The sheriff would like to comment on your illegal drug trade.
It's a really complicated subject, unfortunately, and we have been we've been trying to put a lot of emphasis on sin and on drug enforcement. Unfortunately, with 110 and with the lack of interest from other agencies and counties, and I don't want to speak ill of the lack of resources that they have, so they can't dedicate what we need is personnel. We're trying to take it out of Hyde. We have a detection division. We've reorganized and restructured that detection division, so Sergeant Aaron Wittenberg has some help. He's the only person in sin. He can't do by himself. It's illegal. I've been out trying to help, working undercover some. Not my job right now, but it's so important. We have to do it. And what we're really trying to do, what we have to do because of the political spectrum we're trying to work in is find alternative and creative means to go after these drugs, which is how we got that 1,000 fentanyl count recently. We're working with OSP. We're exploring working with federal agencies, trying to get some authorities that we currently don't have to get in there. It's very, very difficult right now to go after, and we don't care about users. We care about them. They need help. We care about them in that way. We don't want to prosecute. And the jail is not a place for users. They're addicted. But that is our stepping stone to get to the dealers. That's who we want. So we are trying really hard. So we really appreciate your support. But it's tough right now.
But the message we need carried to each and every city in this county in which you live is to get on board.
Well,
I
the
don't
biggest
think
thing is,
Little Boy-
is there a hotline or anything like that so that people can give tips of where they think the distribution is? Because basically the dealers are killing their customers, okay? So we have to get to the dealers. And so is there a hotline or a way that we can maybe get a public notice out so that we can maybe get some intel that might be credible?
I would urge, if you have intel or tips, we do have a database. We try to build these cases. Just call in and ask for either email or leave a message to send. We got all that stuff.
Should we have a protest or let people know how many deaths have happened in this county for the last, since January? Do we have that data?
Yeah, they do.
There's also a lot of unreported deaths also.
We don't have
A lot of them are happening that we don't, we don't have record of, which is just an urban problem that we already know about too many, and there's so many more that we don't know about.
Well, I think it's public awareness is a big one, and to make sure that they may either call in or do something like that.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. 2F, request approval of grant agreement with Barrier First Step Housing Transportation Needs Council, Community Corrections again, or is the council doing this one?
Yeah, so this is similar to the last one, also opioid settlement funds. This is a one-time grant agreement that won't be continued because it's funding very particular activities, specifically completing the renovation of the living space to provide transitional housing for up to 7 additional individuals with opioid use disorder, and the purchase of a vehicle for transportation of individuals with opioid restrictions in the opioid settlement agreement.
Okay, motion?
Move to approve and sign the grant agreement with Bay Area First Step for housing and transportation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Board discussion? John?
Nope.
Audience discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the 2G, approval of collective bargaining MOU. with
Thank you,
Papa.
guys.
Council.
So the current collective bargaining agreement with the Coos County Chapter of Parole and Probation Officers expires on June 30th, 2023. Through negotiations between the parties, we are requesting the board to approve and sign a collective bargaining agreement that will be effective July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025, and sign an MOU with the union regarding work schedules. I will say that in this 2-year agreement, the union is agreeing to not receive any increase in their wages in exchange for the county continuing to cover their health insurance premiums at 100%.
Okay, motion?
I move we approve and sign the collective bargaining agreement with FAPO dated July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2025, and MOU with FAPO regarding work schedules.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion with the board? Discussion with the audience? All in favor?
Aye.
2H, request approval of program May 7th through 13th, 23 as National Travel and Tourism Week.
I move we approve the proclamation, National Travel and Tourism Week 2023.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion by the board? Oh my God, okay, I agree to read this, the whole thing. Board of Commissioners, State of Coos County, State of Oregon, National Travel and Tourism Week for 23, Coos County Proclamation. Whereas the travel industry fuels every industry and will continue to be an essential part of Coos County's economy, development, and workforce. Whereas travel is an economic powerhouse in every state and destination across the country, with an economic output of $2.6 trillion in 22, supporting 14.5 million American jobs. Whereas travel spending supports vibrant and safe communities in Oregon across the United States by generating $84 billion in state and local tax revenue and in 2022 to support essential services such as education, emergency response, public safety, and more. Whereas travel enables success for all industries, including manufacturing, agriculture, defense, healthcare, and more, by driving sales growth, innovation, education, and operations that move our economy, our nation, and Coos County forward. Whereas travel is an economic driver locally, where visitor spending in Coos County in 2022 exceeded $295.6 million, supporting more than 3,600 local jobs and generating local tax receipts in excess of $2.1 million. Whereas the travel industry cannot recover without a full return of leisure, business, and international inbound travelers. Increasing travel to and within the United States drives America forward to a more prosperous future. Whereas the travel industry's success will grow Coos County economy and workforce, since prior to the pandemic, small business accounted for 60% of leisure and hospitality employment. Whereas travel is an essential industry, and we must continue to communicate that growing travel leads to economic growth, benefits businesses, and fosters mutual understanding. And therefore, we, Bob Main, John Sweet, Rod Taylor, Coos County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim May 7th through the 13th, 23 as National Travel and Tourism Week in Coos County, and urges citizens of Coos County to join us in recognizing the critical role this industry plays in our economy.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, what are you planning to do to celebrate National Travel and Tourism Week?
Oh, well, I had my travel to the hospital yesterday.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Which we won't go into, although they were into me.
Thank you. Enough.
Enough of that. I would say though, in addition to that, buy local if you all possibly can. American small business is really, in the last 20 years, really hard hit. So if you can buy your vehicles, groceries, hardware, whatever you're going to purchase, if you can find it locally, I would encourage folks to do that. It's all across the United States have the same problem as small town USA. They are basically becoming ghost towns. The big box stores, etc., have kind of eliminated the single family proprietor ownerships. So, with that,
Do we know which cars are not made in China?
what?
Do we know which cars are not made in China?
Well, I know of one, there's a new electric vehicle they're promoting on the television a lot.
Which will take
That's
China?
totally made in China.
Yeah.
Yep. There are other things that are components that are all made in China, of course. Chips and all that kind of stuff. These phones, the Apple iPhones are made in China, by the way. Rod?
Yeah, I'd like to opine on the buy local question. Not to blow my own horn, but as a representative example, about 4 years ago, I decided to stop buying anything on Amazon. And so Amazon is a company that actually, they will take on the marketing for inventors, and then they will go and reverse engineer that invention and go and have their own manufacturers build a copy of it in China and overtake and take out the entrepreneur who trusted Amazon to market their product. Okay, this is something I learned about 5 years ago. And so about 4 years ago, I relegated Amazon to a research tool only. They're very handy for a research tool if you want to find what you're looking for, and then go find the smallest company that you can to buy it from. And I personally have a 15% price tolerance locally. If I can find it locally and it's not more than 15% more than I can buy it online, then I will buy it local and pay that extra 15%. So I hope that everybody here and everybody listening can adopt a similar principle, because Amazon is actually an evil company, and they are taking out small businesses that we depend on in our communities. People like you and me who own little companies like mine, and Amazon will take us all out. So I admonish us all to eschew that avenue of obtaining the things that we want and need.
And also with that, I spend a lot of time looking for, if I want a particular product, most of the time I will try and find one made in USA.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes I do without. I just decide I don't need it that bad.
Yeah.
It's gonna be made across the pond. I just don't need it.
Yeah.
I like the quality that we have here. Generally, I find it's much better.
Except for Germany, you know, everything is better in Germany.
What?
I feel we Americans appreciate that concept, both of those concepts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Anybody have their hand up on this? Rod?
I have a question.
Oh, well, Mr. Taylor was first. Huh? You're gonna, okay. All right,
Ladies
come on
first,
up.
come on up, man.
Come on up.
My name's Denise Jackson, and I live on the east fork of the Millicom River, and I have a vacation island. And this still has a part of tourism we've discussed, is signage. We have a terrible problem with getting people from out of our area to Golden and Silver Falls safely. If you Google Silver and Golden Falls, you will find that it tells you to go on Warehouses Road and cross a bridge, which is
past Marlow Creek, and then there's a second bridge that goes down to the warehouse or shops,
Right.
and then you're talking about the third bridge.
There's another bridge, Lockhart
Right,
Bridge.
yeah.
Right, and
That
it's
goes
now,
across the river.
right. And
That's where the confusion is right there.
no, the confusion starts where visitors to our area pass, it would be Marlow Creek, and then it comes to a junction, and there's a sign that says Warehouser's Millicoma Tree Farm. It is an area where two roads branch off. So they're not really sure if that says the road to the old Allegheny log dump versus the Millicoma Tree
Well,
Farm.
there's two bridges there. There's one that goes to the old shops, and then there's the next one that goes out to the tree
Right,
farm.
right, and if they go across that first bridge on Warehouser property, they'll go through another gate and head up to the tree farm.
I'm glad too.
But you Google, and I have done this, and I have seen, and I've talked to the park department, they can't do anything about it. Tells them to take that Lockhart Bridge
Yeah.
off of Warehouser to get to Golden Silver Falls, and it's inaccessible.
Okay.
So the sign should say, don't use Google.
I tell all my guests, don't use Google or GPS. When you get up in those areas, it's very confusing, and it tells us that our vacation rental is on Millicoma Lane.
Well, Google, one of our sheriff's deputies had to go rescue a lady here a couple months ago. She turned off out by remote on 42 and went up in the mountains to the north and got stuck because her device in her vehicle told her to go that way.
To get to Bandon.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of our guests that come here are basically at the mercy of good directions.
Yeah.
They'll use their phones. There's no cell service up where we live, so they may have taken a shot at them. But it just really needs to be clear that you don't take the Warehouser Road to get to Golden Silver Falls.
We can have the roadmasters up and look at that.
That would be wonderful. A little further up, maybe another sign to let them know they're on the right road.
Sure.
That would be helpful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for that input.
Rob Taylor?
Rob Taylor from Bandon. Imagine that getting lost in remote trying to find Bandon. Imagine Bandon, you have to go through a town on remote to get to Bandon. Tells you we're out here in the middle of nowhere. Where did you get the idea for this proclamation? Where did it spur from?
I didn't have no idea. It came in, Bob, do you know?
It came from Janice.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
Travel Southern Oregon
Travel
coast.
Southern Oregon lady. Yeah.
okay, what is the purpose in government, in any government, because I see these proclamations being passed, I think they did a half a dozen in Coos Bay, the city of Coos Bay just a month ago. What purpose does a proclamation serve for anyone or anything?
Making people aware of how important it is for the industry.
And that's the
What kind
main
of dollars they
function.
bring in.
Okay, the reason I ask is I see a lot of these proclamations, and I've gone through the records, and I remember with the Bandon Marsh, according to Public Lands, I found two different proclamations that contradicted each other in a 12-year span. And I know that Coos Bay in 1999, under Joanne Verger, they did a proclamation proclaiming April as Christian month, Christian Heritage Month, and yet the city doesn't celebrate that. So my question is there a place on the internet where I imagine you've probably had hundreds, maybe even thousands of proclamations passed, that you have these proclamations that we can go through and say, hey, back in 1868 you proclaimed this, why aren't we doing it? That's a problem. So I see these proclamations all the time, and other than that discussion that lovely lady just brought up, it really just seems to serve not much purpose when you compare it to the opioid epidemic. Sorry to waste you guys' time. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Anybody else? Come on up.
Great. And Tim Hyatt with the Charleston area. To Rod's point, I understand, proclamations for the point of proclamations, can be, what's the point? In this case, I believe that the main emphasis was to raise awareness with what Oregon's Adventure Coast is doing. And they're spending around $800,000 per year to promote the area and really to promote our tourism industry. And some of the numbers here, just briefly again, like Bob mentioned, 2022, the tourism industry brought in $295.6 million to the area. And, I just wanted to emphasize, Oregon's Adventure Coast, which I'm on the board now of, is doing our best to promote the area for everybody's benefit. So that's what I have. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. And then also, if somebody's curious to learn more about it, there's a free lunch at the Mill Casino there on May 10th at 11:45, and that's being presented through Oregon's Adventure Coast. Todd Davidson with Travel Oregon is doing that presentation. So I just want to make everybody aware of that.
Again,
Say
what?
free lunch?
Correct, that's what it says.
All right.
When and where again?
That's going to be at the Mill, and that's part of the Chamber of Commerce's Wednesday Business Connection series. So that's May 10th at 11:45.
Okay. Thanks, Tim.
Great.
Thank you, Tim.
All righty, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, 2I, request approval of orders making appointments to urban renewal agency. So we have 3 openings, 2 on the board and 1 for the budget committee. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve orders making appointments to the URA Board of Directors. And I guess I would add to that motion that I will happily take the appointment to the Urban Renewal Budget Committee.
All righty.
Second that.
All righty. Any discussion with the board? No? Discussion with the audience? Rob?
What is the debt right now on urban renewal, and what is the debt limit for that urban renewal agency, which is the county urban renewal
I
agency?
believe it's 50,000.
50,000 limit, but no debt now?
No, it's a 30 million, I thought, limit. Because you voted on it for that LNG project, didn't you?
Yes.
I think so. I can't
Okay.
remember now.
The debt is very, very low.
That's what I would assume, because there's not much going on out there, so
Yeah.
why would we be using?
The last time the debt was talked about, John got it reduced down to 50,000.
Wait a minute, you got the debt limit or the debt down to
The
50,000?
debt itself, we
Yeah.
paid down the debt,
Yeah.
because we saw no reason to be paying interest on something that
I agree.
we ought to minimize what it is.
Right.
I can't remember, Rob, what the upward limit is. I do remember that, that we changed some of the rules so that it doesn't, we have to approve, we as a board of commissioners have to approve acceptance of any new debt.
Right, and you got rid of the eminent domain, you've got, the thing is I think that urban renewal, everyone knows my opinion on this, or most people do, that I think it's a waste because the cities are using it to give to businesses, and yeah, they can point to all the wonderful things they've done. In fact, Heidi Sauce contacted me, and, I have nothing against the lady, I think she's done wonderful work, but I guess she heard what I said at the town hall, and she had contacted me, and she gave me a litany of things that she has done, and I thought, that's great, that wasn't the point of what I was trying to say. I know you can do a lot of things if someone gives you a bunch of money. I can do great things if someone gives me a bunch of money. The question is why are we giving private business money when this county has fiscally responsibility to the taxpayers not to give that money away? I know that, like I said, on Front Street, they've done a beautiful job, John, but that is a prime area, and it would have eventually been developed. And 90% of the business, I'm willing to bet 90% of the businesses who have to pay for their own facade programs and painting the buildings and upkeep, 90% of them don't even live in or exist in an urban renewal area. I think this is just bad budgeting, and I wish you guys would find a way to clip those wings of the cities, because just imagine Bandon alone has a $33 million debt limit. That's $33 million. The last I checked, this is about 5 years ago, they were $8 million in the hole. And 10 other taxing districts pull them out. And even though the school gets backfilled, not a single of those other 9 districts get backfilled. This is not right. This is not right at all, and I think we have to start talking about this. And I've been up here several times the last couple of meetings to talk about this, and you know, in 2 years, you guys are gonna be facing a budget crunch. You're gonna have to either find a way miraculously to get out of that budget crunch, or you're gonna have to go to the taxpayer and say, guys, we need more money from you. And when I see money that could be going to the county, and I think it's like $100,000 a year that we're losing now.
Oh, no, Rob. You and I are on the same page.
Yeah.
There are 7 urban renewals in Coos County. North Spit, which we're talking about.
Yeah.
North Bend, 2 in Coos Bay, 1 in Coquille, and 2 in Bandon.
2 in Bandon.
We have the second highest amount of urban renewals of any county in Oregon. There's only 1 county that has 8. We lose, right, the last I checked a couple of months ago with the assessor's office, $450,000 out of our general fund budget.
That's disgusting. That's just revolting. Because they're taking that money. They gave $100,000 to the Dolphin Theater. I mean, I like the drama club as much as the next guy, but I don't want to give them my tax dollars. I go to work and I work really hard for that money.
But, that's right, Rob, you think about the $450 we lost versus we get $6 million now in total property tax from the entire county.
Yeah.
It takes $7 million just to run the jail. And we're supposed to run all the other departments with that $6 million. And we're losing $450 because of these 7 urban renewals.
Yeah.
And some of that money, like you said, is going to private businesses to fix up the facades, et cetera. And some is going to supplement city budgets.
Right? Some of them are supplementing the city budget. You know how Bandon supplemented their city budget? They developed the property for the cheese factory. And once again, I don't blame the businesses for taking the money. I blame the politicians for giving the money. But they developed that property for money that came out of urban renewal. But it was city-owned property. After the property was developed, they built a development. The city then sold the property to the business. And guess where the money went? To the city, not back to the urban renewal agency to pay the debt off. It's money laundering. I just wanted to point that out. Thank you, Rob.
It's a hard one, because we can't tell the cities what to do.
You can force them to vote on it. If you could force the city to come here and if they ask for a debt increase, or they ask to expand the urban renewal area, you can demand that they go to their people and the people will make a vote on it. And I guarantee you, if people are going, well, I'm working my butt off, do I really want to give my money to rich developers?
Well, Rob, we'll look into that.
Okay.
I don't think you're right, but we'll look into it. I'll get back to you on that.
And
You got it.
I don't think we have authority to.
I know you do because it was in it was in the county charter.
The county charter for the county
Right.
urban renewal district, but I don't know that we have authority. We'll look into it and answer this question. That we have the authority to say that Coos Bay, North Bend, Bandon, any other city can't create an urban renewal district.
And I want to point out that I agree with you. No government should be in the business of choosing winners and losers in the private sector.
Right.
Okay, there's a fine line, however, between that and between governments at the city or county level being involved in improving infrastructure and things that are conducive to that private enterprise. Sometimes location specifics are going to of those kinds of improvements for the benefit of the community are going to benefit certain private sector actors more than others. That's a natural outcome. But this is a reason I was keen to get on this budget committee with the urban renewal district so that I can keep a real close gauge on that.
Well, even if you guys got rid of the urban renewals, it would take 10 years at least just to get that $450,000 out of funding, paying for the debt, and funneled back into the county. So it wouldn't be like you could get rid of urban renewal and you would get that $450,000. You would still have to pay that debt. But
Yeah.
I just think we need to start at some point. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rob.
Anybody else on that subject? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Two J, request approval letter of support for Sturban Park boat ramp replacement. And that would be me. If you ever use the Sturban boat ramp right over here in Coquille, you knew that, it needs a lot of help. In fact, people think they're launching at low tide and they back in and they get their boat afloat. And when the trailer comes out, there's about a 2-foot drop off and you can take the axle right off the trailer. So they're asking for a letter of support from the county so that the city can get a grant to fix that.
But not urban renewal.
So I need a motion.
I move that we approve and sign the letter of support for the Sturban Park boat ramp to the state Marine Board.
Second.
Okay, any discussion with the board?
Nope.
Any discussion with the public? Nope, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, 2K, discussion of possible public information newsletter. We talked about this during our budget meeting, that the county doesn't really, promote to the public what we do. Now, the sheriff is doing a great job, talking about number of arrests and what they do, and et cetera. But the rest of the county, we don't really let everybody know what we're doing all the time and the thousands of things we do. I noticed that Douglas County has started this. They put out a newsletter about once a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. And they do things like recognize citizens of the month for doing special work for volunteers, that sort of stuff, as well as items of interest that might be of interest to folks that the county is participating in, whether it's federal or state or local, whatever. And I brought this up to talk with the board and the public about, do you think this would be a good idea? We put it out on the internet, on Facebook, get people's emails, kind of like the sheriff did. When I had emails of people I knew that might be interested, I gave those email addresses to the sheriff so they could actually then send that out to more and more people across the county. And it's worked out pretty well. I'm asking if people think this would be a good idea or not. We'd have to have a firm and do a small cost to this item, but anyway. So Diane's coming up to talk about it, I guess. Anybody else want to talk about it?
Yes, how about
Okay.
the World newspaper, my newsletter,
Hang on, you're who and what?
Diane Rich, Coos County.
Thank you.
So you've got the World newspaper, you've got my newsletter, you've got other people that are putting out your information. If you want it put out, give it to us.
That's what we're
You
talking
know,
about.
you are going into direct competition with the private industry. This is not a good idea, I say.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm coming.
Good morning.
Okay, I'm gonna talk directly into this. Okay.
Name and
I'm gonna tell you my name first. Okay, my name is Ray Cousins, and I live in Hauser, at Saunders Lake. Okay, you can hear me? I think the newsletter is a good idea. Fact-based, not opinion-based, but facts. And if it's facts, I mean like journalism kind of stuff, you know? That would be great. Information would be more than welcome. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Pam, you had a comment?
Oh my God, deer. Heavy on the deer.
Sorry, I cue awfully. Pam Lewis with Coquille. I have contended in my little head for a long time that we don't know what y'all do, and we don't know that we can contact you. So if there's, Facebook is free, it's not my favorite place, but it's free. Whatever we can do that's free. Your radio stations do a free PSA. You gotta give them 30 days notice. That's a lot of coverage to get a PSA read for, thank you for volunteering at the fairgrounds for all of the slave labor that you've done to make it look pretty. Those kinds of things. Gosh, it's nice to have someone say thank you. But we still need to know what you're doing. When you go to the pancake feed, when you go to Ford Foundation and do all the interviews, some people think that that's the Ford company, and so they're yipping at you behind your back about being involved with Ford. Explain who, do a little bit of an interview so that people get to know you, each of you, what you do, what you love to do. We know you like to fish, and I know you bake pies, but there are other things I don't know about you that might be more personable, so you're more approachable. Gabe does a fabulous job with the Facebook business. Is there an app that you're doing, Gabe? Where are you? No? We don't sign up on an app for it? Okay, so, guess we have to get permission for people to get the email stuff. But let's put our heads together and do something that's pleasant and fun and lets people know the county is alive and pursuing wellness in terms of business.
I don't know if everybody knows, we have about 24 departments.
Right, and
24.
who is on which department? I mean, you have to go searching for it. The county website is manned by you, Bobby? No? Okay.
IT
Right.
department.
IT
Most
department?
departments update their own information.
Right.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know how to, we do social media. We don't go to the website at this county to look up what we're doing. So, again, the social media thing is a place we get free news. We can join your club there and see what you're doing. Make sense?
Like I said, I signed up a lot of people to get the emails from the sheriff's office when they do arrests or how they, Captain Sean Sandborn did an article on how they operate certain aspects of the sheriff's office for everybody.
Right, the educational pieces and a little bit of the history part. It helps us buy into our community, especially if you're not from here.
Well, there's so many people that don't know how county government or city government, et cetera, works.
You could
They
get
have no
robbed,
idea.
you could get robbed to do an educational piece on government flow, local government flow. It would be an intelligent piece.
Because they don't teach it anymore.
Yeah, correct.
They think that I get emails once every couple of weeks about, you should do something about the sheriff, or you should do something about the assessor. The sheriff and the DA and the assessor and the surveyor and the county clerk and the county treasurer are all independently elected and are autonomous from the commission.
Right.
We only have authority over their budget and their place of business, and that's it.
That's it. And the public doesn't know that.
No,
We
most
don't know
people
how
don't.
you work, so then we're just mad at you. So that
I try to
should
explain
change.
it to them, they need to talk to the sheriff, they have a problem with the sheriff's office. It doesn't make them very happy, but I don't
Well, it's
think
like
really
it's like making a phone call to the courthouse and being passed off menu after menu after menu. So direct information would be fabulous.
Good, okay.
Thank you.
All right, who's next? You are? Okay.
Okay, I'm Ray Lee, I live in Hauser, Saunders Lake, and I definitely agree with the social media. My husband has said with the world being so rare these days and actual news, we're not getting any direct news. So social media, I agree with whoever was talking. I agree with that, but it needs to be objective and from the county, not from some third party. My suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vanessa?
Vanessa Rains, with Myrtle Point again. I was just looking at the crowd, a lot of gray hair. And where are we gonna get the new blood to run our civics and our organizations and get people introduced to it? So, you know, you guys are promoting tourism, well, why don't you create some tourism in here with young kids and bring them in? Make it a field, see if they can get some field trips in here so that they can see how our local government is being run. And that's, you know, part of this is educating people what you do. Well, your positions will need to be filled later in history. So we need to get young people to understand what's going on. I didn't know a whole bunch about civics, and I'm learning every day about different types of positions that you can volunteer for and get elected for. So it does help to educate. Yes, you do have a lot of liaisons to a lot of different departments, and those could be careers for those kids too. So by doing a piece in the world or social media, which you can address young people better with social media, that I think you'll get a broader audience.
From noon to 1 o'clock on May the 10th, there'll be the civics class from North Bend High School here having pizza and learning about county government. Before they
that's
come
good.
here, they'll be over in the courthouse visiting.
I mean, these, you know.
So this goes on.
I remember I was in fifth grade, kindergarten. I got to visit the jail at the old annex, and I tell you what, I saw the paint peeling, how many layers of paint was on those bars. I never wanted to step in there. But we do have to introduce some of these things to the kids, the concept, you know, of, there are decisions being made about their futures here in this chamber. So, and that's why.
And by the way, this Thursday night, right here at 6 o'clock is our third town hall.
Third town hall. Well, I'm glad because you guys are getting out there in the public and instead of just holding up
So
here.
it's
So that's great.
open question tonight. Anything you want to ask, we'll try and answer. We've already had one in Lakeside and one in Coos Bay.
Thursday, right?
This
Thursday, May 4th.
6 o'clock.
And then after that, there's, in following weeks, there will be one in Powers and then one in Bandon as well.
Well, I can tell you, you're getting a bigger crowd here, and this is the only way you're gonna get bigger crowds is to get your word out what you guys do.
And it was specifically on May 4th. Why?
Star Wars Day.
May the 4th be with you. Anybody else want to comment? David?
Not after that.
Good morning, my name is David Jennings. I would want to encourage you to go ahead and do this. I don't really see this as competing with private business, even when the world was kind of a daily newspaper. It was really very hard for people to understand what the county did. And there's still so many people that think that the county primarily operates on property taxes. I remember years ago when there were some of these bitter discussions about the revenue that could be generated from the Jordan Cove project. That one of the city managers, who's no longer in that position in North Bend, made the comment that the county seemed to have an insatiable appetite for additional revenue, which I thought was amazing given that the city of North Bend and all the cities have got, except for Bandon, have property tax rates that are much higher than the county's. North Bend is somewhere above $6. And people just don't understand county operations. And I think as we go forward, it's increasingly important for them to do so. And I would strongly encourage you to pursue this if it can be done in a reasonably economical way. And hopefully you will do that and people's knowledge will increase.
Dave, I have a question for you. I know that you're a very capable writer. Is this a project that you might be interested in having any involvement in?
Certainly, I would love to.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, good morning again. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
The woman, Rob again from Bandon, the woman who came up here and talked about it has to be objective. David does do a lot of writing, but it's very opinionated. It's his commentary. I do a radio show. It's opinionated. It's very commentary. You could say that for Diane Rich's paper. It's her opinion that's being put out there. So you do have to be very careful about things like that because you want to stick to the facts. You have to be as objective as possible. I go back and forth with the city manager of Bandon. It's my city, and Dan Chandler is a great guy. He responds immediately. He answers my questions. And then when I go on the radio, I disseminate those facts and give my opinion on it. And that is what helps me. And if I could get something from the county, much like what the sheriff is doing, You know, Craig was a great guy, but, you know, let's face it, he was up there in age. He wasn't quite, you know, the Facebook, Instagram, and certainly not TikTok kind of a guy, you know what I'm saying?
Careful.
I know. Don't want to tread on anyone's feet here. He's a new generation, and I think that he's been using the emails and Facebook exquisitely. Every time he puts out something, it goes on that Coos County Neighborhood Watch, it goes on Coos County What's Happening. I mean, we all just take that information and it gets put out there all over across this county, and I think that would be excellent for this county to do something like that. Because like I said, the city of Bandon does. They have the city letter. Whoops, been drinking too much. And so I think the county could do something as well and explain, just like why I came up here and asked you about a proclamation. Why do we do proclamations? Why is that happening? How do we get our funding? Until, you know, I hadn't heard that in years. John, you brought up how much money we get from the federal government. Most people didn't even know that. They thought, well, my tax dollars cover it, right? You know? Those are exactly what we need put into this information. And like I said, it has to be as objective as possible. And then you need it to get out to me, to David, who can, you know, I know he writes for Gedry, and Diane, and all the other radio stations. I guarantee you, we will eat that stuff up, and we will put it out there as fast as we can and use the social media. So I am in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Anybody else? Vanessa?
Your town hall is not on the website properly. This says it's a Coos County Planning Commission meeting on Thursday the 4th. So if you have a town hall, it's not on your site. Yeah, the county website is not good information source. Not good information.
Okay, that's another good thing. Anybody else? Okay. Motion for consent.
Move approval of the consent calendar.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Late agenda items, do we have any?
I have one, yes. I move to discuss the late agenda item
For relating to,
relating to the Allegheny Church Road dispute.
Okay, so we need to first approve a late agenda.
and I
item.
second that motion.
Okay. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Then we need to discuss the late agenda.
There's
item.
copies.
Okay.
I'll keep one past I guess. All right, so the issue is that we've had an ongoing dispute regarding rights to the Allegheny Church Road, and the situation now indicates a need for county review of the road's designation, whether to identify it as a public road under the county's jurisdiction and its precise location. So basically, there's a road that accesses the Allegheny Church and the Allegheny Cemetery, and there's been a number of legal kerfuffles and community kerfuffles over this thing, and it appears that I personally made an attempt to try to resolve this amicably among neighbors and restore some sense of community without involving a bunch of county resources. Unfortunately, that effort was not successful, and so it appears that we're going to need to involve the county surveyor, the public works director, county council, and the commission to establish some permanent designation of the road that ameliorates all of the community concerns and disruption that has taken place.
Okay, is that a full motion?
I haven't made a motion yet. I move that we instruct county council to initiate coordination between public works, county surveyor and the BOC to determine the status of the Allegheny Church Road and determine whether the county should commence road legalization proceedings under ORS Chapter 368.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I'm not familiar exactly with what's in 368.
I can provide some information on that.
Council?
So ORS chapter 368 is the ORS chapter that generally covers local access roads, county roads generally. So a road legalization proceeding under ORS chapter 368 would be a situation where there's some uncertainty as to the nature of the road, and that could be a number of different things. It could be uncertainty regarding whether a road exists. It could be uncertainty of the location of the road. It could be that the road doesn't conform with how it's described in the county records and has been used for more than 10 years. So what the road legalization process allows you to do is to initiate a proceeding, have the county determine, for example, where the road is now versus where it is in the county records, and update our records so that the road can be used as it is now built. Does that make sense?
And it doesn't necessarily create a maintenance obligation on the part of the county, depending on the tract of road that we determine should be. Is that right?
Yeah, with the only caveat that if it's, I don't want to get into the weeds here, but a local access road would have to be made into a county road in order to initiate legalization proceedings. And so that might be the case with this road if we determine that we should initiate those proceedings, so that we turn it into a county road within the county road system. But we can prioritize the maintenance as we see fit after that. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment also that the dispute arose over the installation of a gate with a remote controlled opener on it. And it appears to me personally that all parties utilizing that road benefit from the security of a gate being on that road. The problem is that not everyone who needs access to that road has control of the gate. You know, my proposal was to provide remote controls to this gate to all parties involved at the church, key personnel that were involved with the cemetery, and of course the people that live on the road. And that proposal was not accepted, and so this is the course that's left to us now.
Okay. Any other discussion with the board?
No.
Discussion with the public? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Bella Tofton. This is my husband, Don Tofton. We are members of the Allegheny Church. That church has been there since the 1800s. And there has never before had an issue with getting up there to the church. Our members, as you can see, a lot of them are gray-haired, have canes and walkers, and are not able to walk up the hill. The person that is controlling the gate allows us to be open at 9 o'clock Sunday morning until about 1 o'clock. Other than that, we're shut out. Well, there are several of us that go up there to work with Samaritan's Purse. We can't get up to work on the shoeboxes and packages or anything. And as I said, a lot of us are crippled up and not able to do it. We need access. We've heard from family members that have had family buried up there for hundreds of years that are no longer able to go up and maintain the grave sites. All because this one gentleman does not want to allow us access. And people have talked to him, they have tried to communicate, and he keeps, no, we're going to court order. No, we're going to court order. Now it's just flat, no, I'm not discussing it anymore. And so we have no alternative. We need that road open so that we can get up to our church and our cemetery.
Thank you for
And not only that is, when they have choirs and when they're gonna sing and they'll have church meetings, he will not allow them to open the gate to go to this. Now, I say there's three different people on property on that land, on that roadway, which was built sometime in the 1800s by the laborers, the people who wanted to take the kids to school. So if he didn't remove the gate, my suggestion, we put in 2 more. Yeah, and keep him out, but we can't even get fuel delivered to our church because he will not allow that truck to go up the hill.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a water board on there, but who's gonna take care of the water board? If he does not allow anybody to go to it. This is a real problem that's been around for a long time. It gives him the right to block a public road off.
Well, this is exactly why we're taking up the issue.
And we gotta do something different.
Yes,
Very good, you guys.
we need our church.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Kendra Cardwell. I live on the West Fork, Allegheny. I'm a member of the Allegheny Community Church. I'm not gonna take a lot of your time. I've been a spokesman, sort of, kind of, for the gentleman that we're dealing with, and it's taken him a little while to find out who I am, figure out my name and where I live, but he has figured that out. And he literally is harassing me. He's made me back down the road, threatened to hit my car with the gate. This last Sunday, I had a witness here. He was standing out there waiting for me, tried to get me to stop. So from now on, when I do actually am able to go up the hill, I'm gonna have to take a man with me, either my husband or somebody, for starters, that's actually a witness to what's going on. But also because I'm literally afraid for my safety. He likes to harass women and really just zeroes in on them. And quite frankly, I'm not the person that you want to mess with like that. I haven't gotten out of my car yet, but when it happens, it's not going to be pretty. So my opinion is that something really needs to be done about this before somebody gets hurt. Because when you start locking me out of my church, or somewhere where I get, I find spiritual comfort, I start to get really angry, and I start to try to figure out ways to make you feel what's going on too. I've tried everything with this gentleman, and nothing is working. And and you and I have met before and talked, and I've said this over and over, somebody's gonna get hurt, because it's only a matter of time before he picks the wrong guy. And quite frankly, my husband's the wrong guy. If he lays his hands on me or calls me a certain name or whatever, this is gonna escalate, and that's what he wants. So now I have to figure out whether I wanna go to church anymore, or if I wanna continue to be harassed by this person. We don't call the cops, they refuse to come out, and I understand that, they're busy. This is all civil litigation, I get that. But I'm gonna tell you right now, and I'm gonna tell everybody in this audience, somebody's gonna get hurt.
Ma'am.
And when it goes down,
Ma'am, please talk to us.
somebody's gonna get hurt. And I said it over and over and over again. And now we have a situation where there's a court date, and he feels like he's losing control, and this is escalating out of, it's just, he's out there waiting for people. He'll sit there with the gate and close it and open and close it and open. This is just crazy. So please, if you can do something, if you can help us alleviate the situation or just calm it down to some point, we would really appreciate it. All right? Thank you for your time.
My name is Andy Anderson. I live in Allegheny. And I live on Millicoma East Fork Road. It's a gravel road, one lane, very similar to the conditions on Church Road. I own the property that East Fork Road transverses. The reasonable use of that road, when I bought the property, I knew that there was going to be traffic going back and forth. Behind me, there's another residence, and behind that residence is the Millicoma Tree Farm that belongs to warehouses. This past year, the neighbor up behind me decided to put up a gate. The warehouser didn't like that. As soon as they found out about it, they went up and told him that this gate's got to come out. So, you know, what is a reasonable expectation when you purchase a property that has an existing road that goes through it? Would it be okay for me to put up a gate and hinder commerce that's going on? Should I, you know, tell my neighbor he can't have visitors or get deliveries? You know, we just asked that something be done that is reasonable for everyone that's affected. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning. Melissa Green of Allegheny. I've spoken at length about this with you all, so I won't repeat any
We
of
hadn't
that.
noticed.
But I will say that, thank you. This is fortunately a matter of established legal record of the rights of the public along that road. And so I just take a moment to thank you all very much for pursuing the avenue to open that back up again in the legally established way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And with that, let's see. Now we have the reports. Who wants to report first?
Go ahead, Ron.
We have been working on a number of different issues. This issue is now going to, this Allegheny issue is going to be coming to resolution. That's excellent. Let's see, since our last meeting here, I had a session at County College, Association of Oregon Counties, and we spent a lot of time talking about resources. That was a big one, and of course, that's a big concern for us here in Coos County. We know that we should be one of the most prosperous counties in the state by accident, and we are not. And so we're continuing to work on how to gain access to the revenue base that we should have coming off of the Coos Bay Wagon Road lands, the ONC lands, and looking toward all of that. Let's see, currently participating in the crisis intervention training put on by Coos Health and Wellness. That's actually taking place the rest of this week up at the Mill Casino. And let's see, what else? I didn't make any notes for this, so I guess that's all I got for right now.
Joe?
Sorry, I was not here at our last Board of Commissioners meeting. I have the privilege of being asked again this year to serve as an interviewer for the Ford Scholar Program put on by the Ford Family Foundation. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the foundation. We're very, very fortunate to have such a foundation here in Oregon, and it is by the founder's direction, specifically, they favor the counties in which Roseburg Forest Products did business. So that's Douglas, Coos, and then Shasta County of Northern California. This particular scholarship program is one that is available to citizens of all of Oregon and to Shasta County. This year they had 1,100 applicants for the scholarship. That was narrowed down by a series of readings to 219 students who were interviewed, and out of those 219, 130 were chosen for scholarships. These scholarships are 4-year scholarships. Some majors these years require 5 years. In that case, they go for 5 years. You're eligible for graduation support, or for grad school support if you maintain a certain GPA. It's more than just money. In fact, way more than just money. The scholarship office has counselors available. I think somewhere between every year, between 2/3 and 3/4 of the winners are first generation in their family to attend college. In many instances, first generation to graduate from high school. So the concept of college and all that is kind of foreign to them. And so they, Mr. Ford wanted to make sure that they had proper counseling and also each summer an exposure to a nice meals and a nice place to stay, recognizing that many of them haven't had that exposure growing up, and that if they're going to interview for jobs after they graduate from college, they're going to have a certain amount of social skills, and he wanted to make sure that they have those. The success rate, well, so at any given time, you would have in college 130 students times 4, and that's just one of the scholarship programs. There are others, and the total budget for the scholarship office is $12 million a year. It's not a small operation. The graduation rate of their scholarships approaches 95%. So they're well chosen, they're well supported. It's a privilege to be involved with it. We're very, very fortunate to have Roseburg Forest Products in this area. As you well know, their plywood plant here in Coquille is a major employer in the county. They're adding, they're going to make soon, this is getting away from the foundation back to Roseburg Forest Products. They're making a $50 million investment to upgrade this plywood plant to make sure that it will be here for years to come. And in addition to that, in Dillard, they're going to create a new particle board plant called MDF plant. It's and then in Riddle, upgrade their plywood plant. In total, a $700 million investment in wood products and in jobs in Coos and Douglas counties. So not only are they a major employer, but they're a very responsible corporate citizen and do so much for our area. They gave us, just gave us a check for $50,000 for our fairgrounds. They continue to help us in so many ways. So, one of the blessings we have in this county is Roseburg Forest Products and its founder, Mr. Kenneth Ford. So that's my presentation for today.
And along with that 700 million employs local people. They didn't invest out of the area. They invested to reinvest here, which is really important. I attended the courthouse security meeting We had a transit lodging tax meeting with the receipts coming in. I had a meeting about building codes, homeless. Went to the SWAC dinner last Saturday night. It was a good time. And with that, we have citizen comments.
I have one more thing.
Oh, John?
I did go to a fundraiser for the Kids Hope Center. I don't know if I talked about this before or not. It is sponsored by the hospital and a lot of public donations. This was a fundraiser for that. This is a place that children who have been abused, sexually or otherwise, can go for medical treatment, psychological treatment, and soft interrogation so they can get to the bottom of what's and who's doing bad things. Unfortunately, this little organization has almost every year, year in and year out, at least 400 customers. That is absolutely tragic that we have that type of such adverse activity to so many helpless people in this community. And I urge you all, if you have a chance to support it, to do so. It is unfortunately needed in the worst way, and it needs all the support it can get. So if you have an opportunity, please keep that in mind.
Citizen comments, Rob Taylor.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you for running these last couple of meetings, have been excellent, and I think you're a standard. It should be a standard for a lot of the other cities who have these open meetings. Bob, since we started having the public comment, you have been excellent on allowing people their time to talk on every single agenda item, and you don't know how much I, and I'm sure a lot of people appreciate that, because we have a lot of concerns, and they were definitely apt to what the agenda items were all about, and then giving us the time to speak afterwards. And I know we weren't supposed to have any discourse back and forth during public comment, but I do have a couple of questions. One is, we were talking about the forest land. How much of the habitat conservation plan, where they're planning on shutting down, I think it was half or 2/3 of 55,000?
55%.
55%. How many acres exactly would be shut down in Coos County? Do you have a number for that?
I have a number for that.
Okay.
It's 7,200 acres, not 60,000 acres, as I heard on the radio yesterday.
That's what I thought. I thought that was really
yes,
too high.
And we worked very hard on getting this changed, but so far not terribly successful.
I will work to correct that, by the way.
Pardon me?
I will correct that.
Thank you. I hope you can.
Yeah.
So on our 7,200 acres, there's been very, very little harvest. There's 700,000 acres of these lands in the state as a whole. 100,000 of that lie in Klamath County, 600,000 in western Oregon. These are almost all lands that were taken back by the counties for lack of owners' failure to pay taxes on them in the late 30s and early 40s. The lands, by and large, were burned over or logged over, and the counties couldn't afford to keep them. So the state came up with a program to replant them, and in exchange for that and managing the forest, they would get roughly 1/3 of the gross revenues, and the remaining 2/3 would go to the counties to be distributed amongst all the taxing districts in the county whose districts covered where the harvest took place. It's been going on for 10 years. how to manage those lands. And over the years, the state has increasingly given priority to things other than harvest. And this latest round is that they would have a HDP, which in itself isn't necessarily bad. I think it's good, but it's how the HCP has been structured. And then so in the end, 55% of those lands would not be subject to harvest.
I would like to get a convoy or something to get over to Sisters on June 7th and 8th, or one of those days, and get people from hopefully from all the counties who are going to benefit from this. Actually, I think all 36 counties benefit from it anyway, because if one county's slacking or not getting what they need, it hurts the other counties. I think I would like to see someone from this board go there on that day. I know it's a 5-hour drive, you have to go through Willamette Forest, it's a pain in the butt, but I think it's something that you guys need to consider, because if they take this now, what are they gonna take later, you know what I mean? It's like they just seem to consume. Thank you, I appreciate that.
So it's about almost 4,000 acres.
4,000.
Close to it.
What's
Well, the taking
If
part.
you have 7,200, 4,000 would be closed off, is what you're saying.
But they haven't done anything with ours, so.
They haven't done it yet, but they're about ready to do it.
Well, I don't know, that shutdown is not an even percentage across every parcel.
That is right.
So, I
It's
mean,
not.
so
It's
for,
not gonna be an even.
right, so of our 4,000 is 45% or 55% of the 72.
But they already,
right, but.
the problem is that they've already shut down most of our 7,244 acres.
Right.
Already.
Right.
Even before.
Wait, for what?
Well, because they have bird circles, all kinds of things, and so they basically shut the entire forest down. We get revenue of 0 year after year. One year we got $54 out of 7,000 acres.
What you just got, I think the county's just of ONC land, was it 26 million that I read in the newspaper?
That's
Used to
for all
For all the counties,
the
what
18
was our
western
cut
Oregon
of that?
counties. Huh?
What was our cut of that?
Yeah, 1/4.
All right,
We
thank
get
you.
about, what?
About 6%.
About 5.9 something percent.
Okay.
Now, even
Close to
if you don't know, Multnomah County gets a percentage, but over the years, and it was based on the 1919 formula, but over the years, Multnomah County doesn't have any ONC forest anymore, but they still get the revenue.
Yeah, I'm sure it goes to Antifa.
Yeah. All righty, Phil Thompson. We'll go through the people who signed up and then I'll take you. Mr. Thompson?
Good morning to the board, Phil Thompson, Clay. I guess, Mr. Taylor's going to learn a lot about roads, because Mr. Taylor here, Commission. These roads that, people lock up county roads and stuff, you got two people right there. And I'm sure, you'll get on board with them, but we've got county roads that's got gates on them because of the two commissioners sitting inside of you. And the public is locked out. I'm talking about county roads, not these county forest roads. So, anyway, I hope you, learn a lot of it. But what I came up here to talk about, Robert, do you remember Ron McCullough? Born and raised in Hamilton Valley.
Vaguely.
He stopped by my house the other day, and he'd been invited to a party of 3 other people to go up in the Elliott State Forest. I'm not going to name everybody, but one of them was a forestry guy at the college. And the reason I'm not going to name them, people might not want it out. Anyway, they had a mountain way back, I guess probably one of the first mountains made in that country. And they were cutting trails all in there. That's why he was invited, because he knows all about that country stuff. And the forester the head forestry guy, whatever teaches the course out of SWAT, had them out, I reckon. But anyway, they went to her and he said, well, they was in any village here and so forth. Now I'm talking about in the Elliott State Forest back there. And so the conversation came up, well, the tribes that live here, he says no, but they gathered their foods and stuff here for the winter, you know, and stuff before they went back to the coast. And we on, but anyway, he said, well, what about the hunting? And Ron said, the guy said, the county, Elliott State Forest will be open to the public per se, but we're gonna set a large chunk off of it for no hunting. Okay? So, have you heard anything about this?
Nope.
Well, I went out and talked to Stuart Love the other day. I didn't particularly come up and tell him all of this, but he said they can put up, even you guys, you can put up no trespassing in your county forest and stuff, but you can't set no hunting and fishing laws and stuff. That's done by the state fish and game. Down at New River, you know what I'm talking about. He told me that was all posted, no fishing. He says they done been notified to take those signs down because you can put it up no trespassing, charge people for trespassing and so forth, but you can't restrict hunting and fishing. So anyway, my point is, if they're going to do that out in the Elliott State Forest, when's people going to learn about it? The hunters and fishermen are getting locked out of everything the way it is. Just like on the road that goes down to Roseburg. I don't think any fisherman was ever even asked about how many people is going to be locked out of all those fishing places there and so forth. So what I would like for Mr. Taylor to do is question some of these roads and stuff that's getting locked up for, well, somebody might dump garbage out there, not that they have, or they might do drugs out there, not that they have, but they may, and then the public loses the rights to these lands. And I thank you guys.
All right. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Ray Lee Cousins?
So, Rayleigh Cousins, Hauser, Saunders Lake. So I simply wanted to thank the road department for coming to our area. We had a sign that was down, and they were grateful that we had let them know. And they dealt with some issues as far as traffic because it's a dead-end area. And so I want to thank the road department for that. Road and signage, it took a lot of time, and it looks like they're going to be dealing with it with the Gold and Silver Falls. It sounds like, I mean, they're very responsive, And I wanted to thank the fact that the county's dealing with the easement at the Allegheny Church, because I think that probably is what that is. I don't know, and I thank you for addressing that because they definitely need to have access. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vanessa Ray?
Hi.
Get my steps up here.
Yep.
Danessa Rains from Myrtle Point again. I do want to thank the road department. They're doing an excellent job up to Mint Creek. They're really rolling the road, and they said it looks super nice. My husband's actually drove up there to work on, this is a good time since we've had a heavy spring. We're cleaning up our roads, all our road accesses through our timber holdings. So it's important to get out there and get some of that dead stuff out of the roads and stuff so we have access. I just want to go back to the fentanyl. I don't know what we have going on with our kids. I'm really advocate for kids. is there anything going out in the schools, what they should and shouldn't do with fentanyl or pills, or anything that, they can't even pick it up, if there's something on the ground? Is there that kind of stuff that's going in our county where we have a newsletter or something that we have to give out to people for, so we have public awareness?
I think we have an answer, the person here could answer that better than we. Would you care to come up and respond to Dinesa's concern?
Yes, it's not, there's materials being created by Charlotte Carver, Bandon. So fentanyl is an issue that's impacting all of the United States and definitely here in Oregon. There's overdoses that are extremely concerning. There is gonna be some information that's provided by Oregon Health Authority and public awareness about the dangers of fentanyl. It's not always, people don't always know that it's fentanyl, that they have it, it's disguised as pills. So there is information that's not coming from the county, but I would be happy to help try and get the word out and share that as widely as possible. So that's some of the funding that is coming from the state level to try and get the word out about the dangers of fentanyl.
Is it gonna be passed out at the schools and those kind of things?
Yeah, there's materials, there's curriculum that is being developed right now that will be given to schools to administer in each of the different school districts. So I know it's in progress. I know it's an area of concern and a priority that our districts and the state is looking at.
Do you know if pills other than recreational drugs have been laced with fentanyl?
I think our law enforcement probably can answer that better than I can. I know that there are people that are high risk of overdosing from fentanyl, and a lot of it has to do with like young people who may be taking a pill that was given to them that they didn't realize was fentanyl. And fentanyl is so dangerous because it is extremely potent compared to other drugs that have been on.
Let me put my question differently. Are these kids getting vitamin C pills, or are they getting pills of some kind of recreational drug that is laced with fentanyl?
So our law enforcement would be able to tell us what's happening here locally best, but I do know that it is, it's not vitamin C that I've heard stories of, but there are pills that somebody might think is Oxycontin or a prescription pill or other pills that they don't realize has fentanyl in it. I don't know about the details of that here in Coos County specifically, but that is a danger. Yes.
We've been told not to pick up money, because it could be on money, it could be a baggie someone left on the ground. What to do about that? If you see pills on the ground, it needs to get picked up, not by your hands. That kind of education, I don't think it's out there right now, and it's a little late, we're losing people, and it's gonna get worse, because we don't have any border controls right now, and it's coming up into our areas, and it's rampant, and I just don't think there's the education that needs to be out there, and I think it's gonna tax our community, both in our hospitals, our law enforcement, and our young people. And so I don't know if it can be traced with dogs or whatever, but we need to do more for it, and educating kids not to pick up money. God, if I saw $1 on the bill, I would pick it up on the ground, because it's one of those things, so. But you shouldn't be doing that, so, anyway, gotta have more, education on that.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
Kendra Cardwell, Allegheny. I do want to say thank you to everybody, because I know that everybody's put a lot of time and effort into this problem with the Allegheny, so I wanted to say thank you very much, and we do appreciate all of your efforts. We have one other problem up there, though, that I wanted to address today, and some of you might be familiar with it, and it's our slide. And so we're coming into spring and summer, and we're just really hoping that we can get something. We actually had a pretty quiet winter with the rocks and being locked out, not even be able to get up the West Fork, and I live up above the slide. I've had situations where I've had to turn around and go back home. So if we could do something about that this summer with the road department, I don't know if I need to go bang on their doors, squeaky wheel gets the oil, but I just wanted to reiterate that we do still have a problem with the slide, and it is quite dangerous. And if we could do something with that, I'd really appreciate it.
I can assure you the road department is well aware of this issue. County council could probably give us all an update. One of the things that was holding us up is that it's a big job to correct the slide. The property within the county's right of way isn't the only place that has a problem. It's adjacent to property, contiguous property owned by warehouses.
Right.
And they have
they
agreed to
actually
give
deeded
that to the county, I believe, which enables us to now correct the problem.
They have, the process isn't complete, so we don't have title to the property yet.
But that's
it
going
appears
there.
that they are willing to give us the property.
Great. Okay, and if there's anything that we can do out there as citizens to help or move along or whatever, please let us know.
Do you have a shovel?
I
And
do.
if you do, stay away.
I have a chain and used to have a backhoe, but anything that we can help with, we would.
Well, don't.
Okay, all right. No
We'll take
shovel.
care of it.
Okay, thank you so much, we appreciate it.
Dino?
Dino Bandon.
Hello.
I want to kind of shirt tail what Denise was saying. And I believe that this drug problem is really earmarking the youth. As when I was in LA high school, LA junior high school, they had assemblies that brought the students together, showed them products, showed them what to look for, and also had some very graphic, in those days, can't imagine what it is now, graphic photographs of what happens to these people after drug addiction. Now, unfortunately, heroin was really after what they were after in those days. I don't know of anybody that's died of a first shot of heroin, but I watched a kid, probably a 19-year-old down in Redondo Beach, die right in front of me with probably more EMTs than you've ever seen in your life, Narcan, the whole nine. He's dead. And that could be from one pill. The problem I see is that in education, if they can't identify what it is, the kids have a network. They know who's got this stuff. And I'm not saying every kid in school is going to want to try it. But there are some kids, I hate to say it, in the experimental age, they're going to get on, they're going to try it. And if it's just one simple pill, now granted, now it's in marijuana, it's in all these other, let's just say, drugs, I think there could be an educational assembly done at our, maybe down into the junior high school, in high school, or combine them. Doesn't take a long time to have an assembly of what this problem really is, where it stems from. And hopefully we can stop the demand for the drug by education. Forget the dealers. If there's no product that's wanted, they're going to fall by the wayside. And now, I'd like to talk about a possibility through scent. And I don't know if they're stretched, I know that for a fact, but through our sheriff's department. And by the way, thank you very much for confiscating 1,000 pills. It could be 1,000 lives that you saved. But,
that was in cooperation with Josephine and Douglas County Narcotics Teams too.
okay. And I remember when I was youthful, and also my kids,
I was
You have a
useful
good
once.
memory.
Do you remember when John was useful?
Oh,
No one
Kettle
does.
black.
Yes, enough now.
I certainly don't.
There's laws against it, you know.
But I remember
Elder abuse.
there was a big push, just say no to drugs. I haven't seen that anywhere.
Not for a long time.
It might need to come back. And I was also thinking that if we were to, through maybe somebody, put up a notice, wanted drug dealers, reward. Maybe some people will actually start to turn some of these people in. Or at least let the drug dealers know, they might be looking for us. Might want to slow this down. So, yeah, I might want to get out of town. Go back to California. So that's kind of it. I know it's a real tough nut to crack, but the fentanyl just came on the scene, what, a year ago, a year and a half ago, and look what it's doing. It's killing people all over. And I wish that I had videoed watching this kid die, because I would have publicized that, put it out, because nobody knows what the effects are. When you're foaming out of your mouth, next thing you know, it's really an ugly thing to watch. There's nothing you can do about it.
If you just contact with your skin, can do you?
That's the sad part.
They absorb right through the skin.
Yeah, and adults. Yeah. Well, that was just a thought. Maybe we can really have some school assemblies about these items, because it's just.
I think the sheriff is working on it, actually.
Thank you, gentlemen.
He's nodding his head back there.
Oh, Dennis.
Hey, Gene.
Dennis or Eugene Cook, live in Allegheny, and I just want to address one issue that Mr. Sweet brought up concerning if the county was to take over the road that goes to the cemetery and to the church. You were concerned about that the county would then have to maintain that road. I would like to tell you, commissioners, that that will not happen. I have maintained that road myself. I have a tractor. The church has bought gravel whenever it was needed. That will continue to happen.
Thank
I
you.
would ask the county to come up there and work on that road. It's a kind of short road. I have another neighbor with a tractor. If I'm not able, he would be very willing to do it too. So
Thank you
that-
so much for doing that.
So that you will not be concerned about. We will maintain the road if you were to take it over as a county road. That's
I appreciate that.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Come on up.
Since I'm here and since we're talking about alcohol and drug issues in Coos County, Charlotte Carver, Bandon. I'm also on the Alcohol and Drug Planning Committee for Coos County. I just wanted to let everyone know, so the Coos County Local Alcohol and Drug Planning Committee is a meeting that's publicly available. So if anybody is really passionate about this and wants to get involved, they're welcome to attend our meetings. I do have a lot of information that I would be happy to share with anyone who's interested about what we're seeing as major issues here in Coos County, what's happening at the state level. I know that a lot of people disagree with some of the decisions and priorities that are happening at the state level, but it is a priority that our current governor is focusing on, is increasing access to substance use treatment and trying to really address this issue head on. Addiction, especially opioid addiction, is not a new problem to this community. Fentanyl is impacting overdoses, but the reason that we have this opioid settlement funding is because there's been a history of overprescribing of opioids, which is how the addiction epidemic really has grown hugely. So this is not a new problem, but the overdose problem is exponentially worse because of the fentanyl reaching our communities. So it is extremely important. It is a complex issue. It is also very related to mental health, abuse, trauma, many of the people that struggle with addiction have had hard things happen to them in their lives. And so addressing addiction is going to require expanded access to mental health services, expanded access to treatment programs, and definitely a focus on prevention in the schools, talking to children about the dangers of drug use. And it is, I've heard it said multiple times today, but drugs today are different than they were in the past, and so we really do need to get the word out that fentanyl and overdose is an extremely high risk. Also, if there's something that you want to do in your personal life to help keep people safe around you, you can get naloxone, which is a way that you can save lives. There are a lot of people that are only alive here today because of naloxone and harm reduction services. So, thank you for the interest. I'm really excited about digging into how we can address this problem together in Coos County.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Anybody else? Thank you all for attending. We are adjourned.
Thank you.